My name is Lauren. I've always viewed myself as a dedicated wife and a nurturing mother. However, one bright morning, while I was adorning the garden for a celebration, everything took a dramatic turn. Who could have imagined that a simple act of assistance would stir up emotions I had long buried? How deep can our desires reach, and in what ways can they transform our lives? This narrative explores how a chance touch completely upended my existence. Keep reading to uncover how this unforeseen turn of events concludes. I was perched atop an unstable ladder, stringing lights around our patio. The sun shone brilliantly, bathing the backyard in warmth and happiness as I prepared for my daughter Casey's birthday. Decorating always brought me joy, even though most of the responsibilities fell on me. My husband Greg was frequently too occupied to lend a hand. The ladder wobbled slightly beneath me, but I pressed on, accustomed to these minor hassles. At that moment a voice startled me. "Hello, Mrs. Watson. Do you need some assistance?" The voice was deeper than I recalled. As I turned, I almost lost my balance. Standing there was Michael, the son of my closest friend, Sarah. "Oh, Michael, I'd really appreciate your help," I responded, striving to stay calm. As I descended the ladder, he moved forward to steady it, and our hands briefly met. That simple contact ignited a flood of unexpected emotions within me. "I just arrived and saw you might need a hand," Michael said, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "That's very kind of you," I replied, guiding him to the garden where the remaining decorations awaited. Working alongside him, I couldn't help but be captivated by his presence. His confident and graceful movements were enchanting, and every accidental touch made my heart race. "How's college treating you?" I attempted to initiate a casual conversation, though my voice hinted at a hidden interest. "Good, Mrs. Watson. Just the usual balance of studies and social activities, but it's nice to be back home. Everything feels more peaceful compared to campus," he answered, effortlessly smoothing a tablecloth. I laughed, though my laughter had a nervous edge. "I can imagine. We've all missed you. Casey speaks highly of you. Hopefully only good things," he added with a gentle smile, easing the growing tension between us. "Only the best," I assured him. Our eyes locked for a moment that felt interminable, and I realized that a simple touch and a smile could reignite feelings I thought were gone. As evening approached, shadows lengthened across the lawn, and guests began to arrive. The party buzzed with conversations and laughter, yet the spark that had ignited between us during the setup continued to smolder, subtly connecting us amidst the crowd. When the festivities kicked off, I spotted Michael among the guests. His charisma and infectious laughter drew attention quickly. Our paths crossed again at the drinks table, where he was the life of the gathering, sharing a humorous story that captivated everyone. Noticing me, he paused and handed me a glass with a playful grin. "Mrs. Watson, saving the last glass of Casey's favorite drink for you." "Thank you, Michael. I think I really need this," I replied, our fingers touching once more, sending that familiar spark through me. I took a sip, feeling embarrassed as curious eyes glanced our way. We gradually moved to a quieter section of the garden, where soft lighting and a private setting allowed for a more personal conversation. Our laughter and light-hearted jokes drew us away from the rest of the party. "Lauren," he began, using my first name for the first time, his voice taking on an intimate tone. "What's life like in the suburbs? Surely it's not all parties and home improvements." I chuckled, feeling surprisingly comfortable. "Oh, it can be wild sometimes. Choosing paint colors feels like the most thrilling decision of the day," I responded with a smile. He laughed too, his eyes lingering on mine a bit longer than usual. "Sounds exciting. Maybe you need a bit more adventure in your life." he suggested, his voice low and inviting. Before I could respond, Casey's voice cut through the atmosphere, playful yet curious. "Looks like you've charmed the most important lady here, Michael," she exclaimed, causing those around us to laugh. Blushing, I managed a light reply. "Casey, you know I've always had a soft spot for your family." My voice was gentle, but my heart raced with excitement and anxiety. Michael exchanged a quick, unreadable glance with Casey before smiling at her. "Just keeping good company, Mom," he said. The rest of the evening flew by in a whirlwind of fleeting looks and whispered conversations with Michael. Each interaction sent a thrill through me that I struggled to contain. His earlier question about needing more excitement in my life lingered in my mind, challenging the limits of my comfort zone. As the party wound down and guests began to depart, I felt a mix of relief and disappointment. The night had revealed more than I had anticipated. When saying goodbye to Michael, our hands lingered for a moment, his touch silently conveying unresolved feelings. "Good night, Lauren," he whispered softly. "Good night, Michael," I replied quietly, feeling a blend of guilt and anticipation in my chest. After the party, I attempted to return to my usual routine, but thoughts of Michael kept resurfacing. Every time I walked past the garden or saw the twinkling lights we had hung together, memories of our brief touches and conversations flashed through my mind. It was madness. How could I let myself become infatuated with my best friend's son? Greg remained engrossed in his work, and our interactions were limited to business discussions and taking care of Casey. This routine now felt stifling. One day, seeking solace, I decided to visit my favorite cafe to distract myself and find some peace. The doorbell chimed as I entered, blending with the aromas of freshly brewed coffee and pastries. The cafe had always been my sanctuary, a place to escape the daily grind. After ordering my usual cappuccino, I searched for a seat and unexpectedly found Michael in a corner with his laptop. "Lauren, what a pleasant surprise!" he exclaimed, waving me over. My heart raced, and I felt a blush spread across my cheeks. Approaching his table, I tried to remain composed. "Hi, Michael. I didn't expect to see you here." "I like to change my study spots. It helps me stay focused," he replied, closing his laptop and giving me his full attention. "Care to join me for a coffee?" "I already have mine, but thank you," I responded, raising my cup. A comfortable silence enveloped us, and the tension from our last interaction seemed to dissipate. Breaking the silence, Michael leaned in slightly, lowering his voice as if sharing a secret. "You know, Lauren, you're nothing like I expected Greg's wife to be." His words took me by surprise, and my heart skipped a beat. A mix of curiosity and concern colored my response. "I don't know," I said thoughtfully. "Perhaps more reserved than you appear, but you're so lively and interesting," he continued, making me laugh. "I'll take that as a compliment." "Thank you, Michael," I replied, feeling flattered and slightly nervous. Our conversation flowed effortlessly, covering favorite books, movies, and personal dreams, topics I hadn't discussed with Greg in a long time. Michael listened attentively, his thoughtful responses making me feel understood and connected on a deeper level. When it was time to leave, Michael moved closer, his voice soft. "I really enjoyed this time, Lauren. Maybe we could do it again sometime." My heart raced, and I couldn't believe my willingness to continue this strange attraction. "Yes, I'd like that too," I responded, surprised by my own honesty. We said our goodbyes at the cafe door, and as I walked to my car, the desire to see him again overwhelmed me. This unexpected meeting had drawn us into dangerous territory, and although retreating seemed sensible, the allure of the unknown was becoming irresistible. igniting a sense of life I hadn't felt in years. Days passed since our cafe encounter, and my emotions swung between excitement and guilt. Memories of Michael and his words haunted me, especially whenever I passed by the cafe. These thoughts kept me awake at night, making me feel both guilty and conflicted. This is madness, I kept telling myself, but deep down I knew it was more than mere desire. It was a feeling I couldn't ignore, despite the potential consequences. One rainy day, struggling with a frozen computer, I remembered that Michael had mentioned his talent for fixing technical issues. Without much thought, I called him. The phone rang, and Michael answered almost immediately, his voice warm and welcoming. "Hi, Lauren. What's up?" "I'm sorry to bother you, Michael. I'm having some computer problems, and I was wondering if you could help." "Of course. I'll be right over," he replied without hesitation. When he arrived, the tension between us was palpable. Michael sat down at the computer while I stood nearby, watching his confident movements. Our shoulders brushed accidentally, sending a familiar surge of energy through me. "Just need to tweak a few settings," he murmured, not taking his eyes off the screen. Our faces were closer than before, and looking into his eyes, I realized that resisting this attraction was futile. Our lips met in a gentle yet passionate kiss that quickly deepened, expressing all our suppressed emotions. When we parted, I could barely breathe. "We can't continue this, Michael," I whispered, my voice trembling as I realized I was speaking more to myself than to him. "I know, Lauren. I'm sorry," he replied, avoiding my gaze. We finished fixing the computer in silence, and Michael left quickly, leaving me overwhelmed with emotions. As soon as the door closed, I leaned against it, trying to gather my thoughts. Every touch and kiss left a lasting mark on my soul, and I knew this was far from over. Weeks had passed since the party and our last encounter. I tried to distance myself from Michael, but thoughts of him persisted. Greg was consumed by his work, and I felt increasingly lonely. One morning, as I was preparing breakfast, my phone rang. It was Michael. "Lauren, hi. I was thinking maybe we could meet and talk. I feel like we need to discuss what happened." My emotions were conflicted, but I agreed. "All right, Michael. Let's meet at the Lavender Garden Cafe," I suggested, hoping the familiar setting would help me stay calm. I chose a short green skirt and a fitted blouse that accentuated my figure. In the mirror, I saw a confident woman, but inside, a storm was brewing. At the cafe, Michael was already waiting at a corner table. He stood up as I approached, his eyes lingering on my outfit. "Lauren, you look stunning," he said. "Thank you, Michael. What did you want to talk about?" I asked, attempting to keep the conversation professional. He didn't take his eyes off me. "I can't stop thinking about you. I know it's wrong, but I need you to know how I feel." His confession was overwhelming, and my heart raced. We discussed our feelings and what to do next. I tried to maintain some distance, but each glance and word drew me closer. When our conversation ended, Michael suggested a walk. We left the cafe and strolled along an alley lined with blooming trees, the scent of lavender adding a romantic touch. At one point, he stopped and took my hand. "But I can't fight this feeling," he said, his voice shaky with emotion. I looked into his sincere and yearning eyes. Without thinking, I pulled him close and kissed him. The kiss was filled with passion and desperation, his hands wrapped around my waist, pulling me nearer. Our lips danced in a seemingly endless embrace, his breath warm against my skin, his touch igniting every cell in my body. The kiss grew more intense, and I lost myself in the moment. When we finally pulled away, our faces were inches apart, breaths mingling. "Lauren," he whispered, his voice filled with passion and pain. "I can't hide this any more. I want to be with you." My thoughts were tangled, but one thing was clear. I wanted to be with him too. "I do too, Michael," I whispered back, my heart filled with both joy and fear. We stood there embraced, savoring the moment, knowing that difficult decisions awaited us. But in that instant, all that mattered was our love and desire to be together. In the following days, I couldn't stop thinking about Michael and our kiss. We tried to avoid each other, but our attraction was too powerful to ignore. Every encounter, whether planned or accidental, intensified our desire. One day, Michael sent a message. "Lauren, let's meet in the park by the old fountain. I need to talk to you." My heart raced, and I knew I couldn't refuse. I chose a light ivory dress that softly hugged my figure and highlighted my curves, making me feel confident and light. At the fountain, Michael was already waiting, looking tense and anxious. Our eyes met, reigniting the spark between us. "Lauren," he began, his voice trembling with emotion. "I can't hide this any longer. I think about you every day, every minute." I stepped closer and our hands met, his touch sending electric currents through me. "Michael, I can't stop thinking about you either," I replied, tears welling in my eyes. "But we have to be careful. This could ruin everything." He pulled me closer, and our lips met in a fiery kiss. His hands wrapped around my waist, his fingers gently touching my skin through the thin fabric of my dress. The kiss was filled with desperation and desire, every cell in my body responding to his touch. "Lauren, I want to be with you no matter what," he whispered, pulling away and gazing into my eyes. I knew our feelings were too strong to deny. This kiss wasn't just about passion. It was an acknowledgement that we couldn't live without each other. "I do too, Michael, but we need to be cautious," I replied, striving to maintain some sense of reason. We spent hours walking in the park, enjoying each other's company. We talked about our feelings, fears, and how to handle the situation. Every word he spoke and every glance we shared only deepened my desire to be with him. "Lauren, I don't want to lose you," he said as we sat on a bench under a large oak tree. "Let's meet in secret until we figure out what to do next." I knew it was risky, but the thought of not seeing him anymore was unbearable. "All right, Michael. We'll be careful," I agreed, feeling my heart torn between joy and fear. Our lips met again in a passionate kiss, his hands sliding over my shoulders, his touch filled with love and desire. My hands wrapped around his neck, pulling him closer as I felt his heart beat in sync with mine. These secret meetings became our sanctuary. We met in the park in secluded spots where no one could see us. Each date was filled with passion and tenderness, and we cherished every moment, knowing it could end at any time. One evening, as we sat on a bench under the stars, Michael took my hand and looked into my eyes, his voice soft but impactful. "My love, I'm so grateful for everything we have. You and Casey are the most important things in my life, and I will never let us drift apart," he said with determination and love. "I feel the same way, Greg," I whispered, feeling my heart swell with joy and gratitude. "We've been through so much, but it has only made us stronger. I know we can handle any challenges if we face them together." Days turned into weeks, and our bond only grew stronger. We continued our secret meetings, each one a testament to our forbidden love. However, the guilt of betraying Greg weighed heavily on me. I couldn't shake the thoughts of how I had let Greg down and jeopardized our family. One evening, after Casey had gone to bed and Greg returned home late from work, I knew it was time for an honest conversation. I prepared a simple dinner and mustered the courage to invite him to sit down. He looked surprised, but took a seat at the table. "What's going on, Lauren?" he asked, his voice filled with care and concern. Taking a deep breath, I began, "Greg, something has been wrong between us for a long time. We've grown apart, and I feel like I've lost you. I made a huge mistake. I cheated on you with Michael." His eyes widened in shock, and I saw the pain reflected in his gaze. He remained silent, processing my words. "I know it's hard to hear, and I'm not making excuses, but it was a moment of weakness. I still love you and want to save our family," I continued, tears streaming down my cheeks. "Why, Lauren, why did you do it?" he asked, his voice trembling. "We grew distant. I felt lonely and unneeded. You were so absorbed in work, and we had no time for each other. I made a mistake, and I'm very sorry," I replied, feeling the weight of my actions. Greg sighed, his eyes filled with sadness. "I'm partly to blame too, Lauren. I didn't give you enough attention. I thought working hard was best for our family. But in doing so, I neglected what was most important. You." We sat in silence, reflecting on our conversation. Then Greg took my hands in his and said, "We need to discuss our problems and try to fix everything. I don't want to lose you and our family. You mean so much to me, Lauren." I nodded, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. "I don't want to lose you either, Greg. We need to work on our relationship and restore the connection we once had." We decided to seek the help of a family counselor to address our issues and find solutions. We began spending more time together, discussing our feelings and desires. Gradually, step by step, we started to rebuild our bond. One evening after a family session, Greg looked at me with tenderness. "Lauren, I understand why it happened, and I forgive you. We both made mistakes, but I believe we can overcome this. I love you and want our family to be happy." Tears of joy and hope streamed down my cheeks. "I love you too, Greg. Thank you for understanding and giving us a second chance," I whispered, hugging him tightly. Our relationship didn't become perfect overnight, but we were both committed to making it work. We began to rediscover each other, finding joy in the little things, and cherishing every moment spent together. In the end, we realized that our love and family were the most important aspects of our lives. We had overcome challenges and emerged stronger and closer. Months passed since Greg and I decided to start anew. We dedicated ourselves to rebuilding our relationship, and each day brought new discoveries and joys. The time we spent together helped us reconnect, making us closer than ever. One evening after a long day at work, Greg came home with a bouquet of my favorite roses. It was a delightful surprise, and my heart filled with warmth. "Hi, honey," he said, smiling as he handed me the flowers. "Hi, Greg," I replied, accepting the bouquet and feeling tears of joy welling up in my eyes. "Thank you. This is so sweet." We sat together on the couch, enjoying the quiet and the warmth of each other's presence. I leaned into him, feeling his strong arms embrace me. This moment is exactly what I've always wanted, I thought. I'm so glad we were able to overcome everything and find each other again, Greg said sincerely. "You mean so much to me, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make our family happy." "I feel the same way, Greg," I replied, looking into his eyes. "These past few months have shown me how much I love you, and how important our family is to me. I promise to always be there for you and support you in everything." We hugged, enjoying each other's warmth and recognizing that our mutual efforts had paid off. Our love had grown stronger, and we understood that together we could handle any difficulties that came our way. The next day we decided to spend quality time as a family. We went on a picnic to the park where I had first met Michael. Now, this place symbolized a new chapter in our lives, Casey was thrilled about the day spent outdoors. We played ball, picked flowers, and enjoyed the delicious food Greg had prepared. At one point, I watched Greg laugh and play with Casey, and I realized that this was true happiness. As the evening approached, we sat together on a blanket, watching the sunset. Greg held me close, his warmth permeating every part of me. Lauren, I want you to know how grateful I am for everything we have. You and Casey are the most important things in my life, and I will never let us drift apart again, he said with determination and love. I feel the same way, Greg, I replied, my heart filled with joy and gratitude. We've been through so much, but it has made us stronger. I know we can handle any challenges if we face them together. We sat there embraced, watching the sunset and feeling our hearts beat in unison. This moment symbolized our rebirth, a new chapter filled with love and hope. We knew that new challenges awaited us, but we were ready to face them together, supporting and loving each other. This story is one of forgiveness, love, and the strength of family. We realized that even the darkest moments can lead to light if we are willing to fight for what we cherish. Our family had become stronger, and we were prepared for whatever the future held, knowing that together we could overcome anything.